Emmanuel Macron is calling on European voters to reject nationalism and support a stronger European Union. In a letter published in newspapers in all 28 EU countries today, Macron urges EU citizens to use their votes in upcoming European parliamentary elections to protect and strengthen Europe and to reject Eurosceptic parties. Macron also laid out several reform proposals, including a new EU-wide agency to protect democracy, a ban on foreign funding for political parties, and harmonizing EU laws on hate speech on the internet. Let's get more on this story with our correspondent. Bernd Riegert is in Brussels, and here in Berlin, Hans Brandt from DW Politics. Good to see you both. Bernd, let's start with you there in Brussels. Now, Macron's letter is addressed directly to the citizens of Europe. Why are we seeing this letter from him?
Well, I think Mr. Macron is kicking off his election campaign for the European elections, which will take place at the end of May. And he's addressing the people directly. And this is a good PR stunt, if you wish, if you want to say so, in 28 countries simultaneously. So he will dominate the European debate for 2 or 3 days, at least in the European circles. I'm not sure if he can reach everybody, because not everybody is reading newspapers anymore in Europe. And I'm not sure he can also reach the protesters, the Yellow Vest in France, which are very angry with their president.
So he's speaking to the people. What about his European partners? Do you think he discussed this letter with other European leaders beforehand? And how do you think they're going to react?
I think they knew there was something coming, but he didn't discuss the details of this plan because Macron learned that if you want to change something in Europe, you have to move and you cannot wait for everybody. But there is no surprise, no real surprise in the things he's proposing. And there are some reactions already from the Finnish Prime Minister and the Belgian Prime Ministers in tweets. They say they broadly support what Macron is asking for.
All right, Hans, let's come to you now. You're tracking this story here in Berlin. Has there been any reaction from politicians here?
Yes, there has. A government spokesman speaking for Angela Merkel's government has said that the government welcomes a robust discussion about the role of the European Union ahead of these European elections at the end of May. There have also been reactions from various other political parties welcoming this discussion, welcoming the proposals that Macron has put forward. The only negative reaction, not surprisingly, has come from the far right-wing party in Germany, the Alternative for Germany, which has said that if any of these ideas of Macron were to be put into effect, it would in fact make the European Union worse than it is already. But that's no surprise from a Eurosceptic party.
Hans, let's look at one of those ideas. Macron is calling for Europe-wide pay guarantees and social benefits. Do you think the German government is likely to be on board with that proposal?
Well, here in Germany, there has been a discussion about a minimum wage as well, which has been proposed, or which has been in fact passed by the government, both the Conservatives and the Social Democrats in this government. So I imagine there might be quite some sympathy for this expanding a minimum wage proposal across Europe, especially, I think, on the left in the German political spectrum. But what Macron obviously seems to be saying is that he's trying to reach voters in Europe across the political spectrum, trying to show them that there is some benefit from being within the European Union, and that these benefits can be very concrete in terms of things such as the minimum wage, which according to Macron would have to be adjusted to each particular country. So it wouldn't be exactly the same figure, but an equivalent figure depending on the purchasing power in the various countries.
Bernd, one message that really comes across in this letter is fighting for a stronger European Union, and Macron is proposing to combat Euroscepticism with another European agency. But isn't that exactly what critics accuse the EU of? Too much bureaucracy?
Well, his critics, of course, will hammer him on that. And it's not only one agency, it's actually a variety of new agencies and institutions in this letter. And Macron wants that all until the end of the year. It should all end up in a huge European convention he wants to call for. Of course, he knows this is unrealistic and this will not happen. But you have provocations all the time from the right-wing populists. Now this is a provocation from a liberal politician, so this will stir up the debate, and in the end, this might be quite good for Europe.
All right, our correspondents Bernd Riegert in Brussels and Hans Brandt in Berlin. Thank you both.